Hi, I'm Nag, and I play a lot of Anime Vanguards. So with the knowledge I've acquired so far, I hope by making a tier list, ranking the best and the not so best units in the game, it will help a lot of you to know who to pull on banner or reroll for. Also, thank you to everyone who subscribed recently. We are so close to 70k subs, which is crazy. With your support, 100k this year doesn't even sound impossible. So with that out of the way, let's hop right in. Alright, so if you've not seen the previous tier list, let me quickly explain the tiers real quick. D tier are characters who are pretty bad. They're at least better than the rare characters, but they're pretty bad. Which, by the way, I want to clarify that when benchmarking characters, I like to keep in mind that the only challenging content in the game so far is, I would say, the brand new Egress game mode. I'll force my editor to put a picture of the game mode I'm talking about. Everything else in the game can be cleared with rare/epic units, including the Raid Act 4. I've seen it done. Most importantly, the Egress Legend stage can be done with just a rare Goku, no other unit. So keep that in mind when ranking characters. Like, oh man, you know, I think Piccolo is god tier because I had an easy time farming Egress with him. Well, some people had an easy time farming with rare Goku. And I don't even include rares in the tier list because they're so bad. Also, when placing characters, obviously if you have a really good trait on an A tier character, they're likely better than an S tier character with a bad trait most of the time. So keep that in mind. Oh, and every mythic is already evolved. I don't think it's going to be an issue anymore for this tier list, but for the previous one, people were assuming they weren't because the game was so new. A lot of people didn't have the mythics evolved. But C tier are characters that are a bit better than D tier, but aren't amazing either. B tier, they start to get a little more relevant. Characters that you might even stick with after getting your first mythic or two. Farm/supports, I gave them a separate tier because honestly, they're all so useful for specific things that I think they deserve their own tier. And farm/supports technically is on SS tier as well. It's just I didn't want to have, like, I don't know, the slow, like for example, Crocodile is in this tier. I didn't want him to be in SS tier. That's just odd. A tier is where the mythics start. Good units, very good units. You can do anything in the game with them, but they're not, you know, meta. S tier are the meta characters, and SS tier are the broken characters. Alright, so let me skip real quick because the epics are so one-dimensional. I feel like it's a waste of time talking about individually, except very specific ones. Alright, so like I just said, I skipped real quick the C and D epics because there's not much to say about them, but I will point out some changes I've done from the previous one. I've bumped down Inosuke and Kakashi from B tier to C because there's pretty much a better unit than Inosuke now that is very accessible and they're legendary. And Kakashi is just mid. Stuns aren't as good in this game as I would think they would be. And I bumped up Killua, not because of his passive or anything, but he's very cheap. And because he's so cheap, he's really good to make macros, which I think increases his relevance by a lot compared to all these other epics. So I think it was worth bumping him up a tier. Alright, so let's start with the legendaries. The worst legendary in the game, I would say, is Grimmjow, so he goes in the B tier. Sorry, C tier. His passive is just way too specific with doing actual damage to overshield enemies. And the damage plus 10 when attacking the same enemy would be good if not for the fact that his range is just terrible. Also in C tier, we have Gon. Poor Gon. He got so nerfed. He was in B tier on the previous tier list, but he got so nerfed, bro. He was really good. I don't even know what his new passive is exactly, but I just know that he got gutted. So, poor Gon. I'm just gonna move to B tier. These are some of the better legendaries like Itachi. He just has pretty good damage. Itachi was one of the main characters people were in the beginning were making macros with for the Egress fight. I bumped up Goku Black to the plea of everyone who loves this unit to B tier. There's not much special about Goku Black. Like his passive of insta-killing doesn't work outside of story, which, listen, story is long gone. You know, it's not the first update anymore. We got new content. But people love his second part, the damage increase. So I read the pleas, I bumped him up. Kizaru, I still think is the best legendary in the game. Again, just another really good unit to make macros with, for beginners especially, because of how fast he attacks. He breaks shields much more easily than other like starter characters. And in general, he's a good unit compared to legendaries. Now we got a new legendary with this update, Bing. And I placed him in B tier because checking him out, in terms of pound for pound, I'll put his passive, a lot of people might not know his passive. The damage increase when bleeding, and he also applies bleed, makes him actually pretty decent in comparison to the other legendaries. But I thought he deserves B tier as well, but to be honest, I think if I was to rank the legendaries, in my opinion, it would go Kizaru, Itachi, Bean, and Goku Black. Alright, for the farms slash supports, we already put our boy Crocodile here. He's the only slow unit in the game, so until there's a new slow unit, he's gonna remain at this tier. Because he's the only slow unit, he's great. Slow is really OP in this game, by the way. It's really, really good. And the hitbox that you can make for him, if you max upgrade, he has actually a very nice range to him. But once we have actual mythics that slow, that's when it will get a lot better. Then we have Speedwagon. He was our original only farm, but now we actually have this guy, which I have no idea what anime he's from. I just call him Farm Guy. He is essentially I wouldn't even call it exactly better farm than Speedwagon, just a different kind of farm. He's a one placement, more expensive, but gives more money type of farm. If you've played Anime Adventures, he's the Bulma of this game. They just didn't make it Bulma for some reason. You'll most likely, for a lot of activities, run either Speedwagon or the farm, or both at the same time. Probably both. Now, our only buffer in the game, Haruka Rin. To be honest, I don't like her, but she's the only buffer in the game. not that she's bad. She gives up to 18% damage and 10% range. I just think that because she's a 2 placement buffer, I would have wished for the 2 placements to actually combine and stack, but they don't, which is unfortunate. But not a bad unit by any means. I use her in every team. It's just 18% is not very high. So I assume in the future we're going to get better buffers, but that's what we have for now. We got Peng. He's another legendary. He is the only pushback unit in the game currently. And I mean, he's the only guy for the job, so I'll put him here. To be honest, in terms of the supports, he's the one I never use. I much prefer using slow than pushback. But if you told me you like using Peng, I wouldn't bat an eye because the pushback is actually pretty decent. I don't think it's as good as slow, but it's pretty decent. Now we have a brand new support unit, Sakura. So all that Sakura does is cleanse. And in the game, we have bosses that stuns you. But most importantly, we have a new boss with this raid, which doesn't stun you. What they do is they actually apply a debuff that has no end, so you have to cleanse with Sakura. They forced this unit to be good. While she is good, you need her. I don't think that I would actually ever use her if not for the fact that this boss forces you to use her. But hey, she's the only cleanse in the game, so she deserves to be in the support tier. Right, so let's start with the A tier. I'm gonna do a little differently than I did on the first list. I'm gonna try and do from worst to best, in my opinion, based on the passives and damage, and also what they are good for. So I think currently the worst mythic in the game is Naruto. He got nerfed. Sage, he was really good before the nerf, and other characters that were worse than him got buffed. So I thought before, honestly, Obito was worse than him. I thought Vegeta was the worst mythic in the game, but they got so buffed. Like, they are so good now, Obito and Vegeta, that it's like Naruto is the worst mythic in the game currently, I would say. But even being the worst mythic doesn't matter because the game is very easy, so just being a mythic is very strong still. I would say currently the second worst mythic in the game is Sasuke. I thought the stuns would be a lot more meaningful, but in the current landscape of the game, they really aren't. And I mean, he just doesn't do that much damage. To be honest, if you want someone that does a lot of damage to a single boss, because Sasuke has 2 passives. He has a stun, and he also ramps up his damage the more he attacks the same enemy, right? I think Vegeta is the man for the job much more than Sasuke. Now we have a new character. We have Akaza. I would say he is also at the top here of A tier. There's just not much special about him. The best part about this character is that, well, he's a Demon Slayer character, so he does more damage on the raid. And he has a very unique last hitbox where it tracks the enemy. It's very interesting, but also very janky, very awkward to use because it doesn't come off of the character. It's just a very strange character to use as well. Again, no mythics are bad. They are in A tier. They're not in D tier, but I'm ranking them, right? So there's gonna be a better and there's gonna be a worse, no matter what. Afterward, I have Chayin. I like Chayin because she has really good range on some of the upgrades, but pound for pound, her damage just isn't as great as the other mythics, so I should put her here, but she's still S tier in my opinion. Maybe next tier list should be bumped down to A tier, but for the time being, I think she still remains here. And this is where it starts getting really hard because every character here is so good. I would honestly want to put everyone here in SS tier, but rankings must be done. I made a tough decision to put Obito next in S tier. Obito after the buff is so good, specifically for infinite runs. I still think that he isn't very great for raids or legend stages, or as good as the other characters I put above him in S tier, but I think he is, no, I don't think, I know he's super, super meta for infinite runs. So I wanted to put, dude, I want to put every character next here in SS tier actually, but I need to be concise here with the tiers. The devs really like managed to balance these mythics quite well. There's no garbage mythic. Naruto is the worst one, but he's still not garbage. And there's no, I say overpowered, but there's no mythic that's like he's so overpowered that it makes every mythic look bad. In any case, Obito goes here. That is the final point. Next, this was a pretty tough one, but Rengoku, the new one from the raid stage. He is an exclusive character. He's not a secret or a mythic. He is very good. Again, I wish every character here was an SS tier. He's just very expensive for what he does, I feel like. There's no gameplay of him on the channel, unfortunately, because I don't have him, but I've watched a bunch of videos. His last upgrade is a tiny circle, and it's just really awkward to use. Maybe the devs will buff him. Very good chance, if you're watching this the day after the tier list is out, they might have already buffed him. Because you know how unfortunate it was that I posted my tier list and then they buffed Vegeta the next day? And he's like godlike? Like what? It's so annoying. And now everyone's like, bro, you stupid. Vegeta is so good. Yeah, he got buffed. But yeah, he does good damage. Like all the burn and stuff that Rengoku does, like the damage is good. It's just a very tiny circle. I wish he actually kept the cone that he does on the second upgrade, but there's the last upgrade is really bad. I think for how expensive he is, he should have gotten a bigger, either a big circle or a cone at the end. And that just really kills the unit. Okay, I made a last minute decision. I was gonna put Vegeta in S tier, but listen, I'm putting Vegeta in SS tier. From worst mythic in the game to godlike. Vegeta got buffed. Mainly, what really made him godlike for me is that he costs 1200 to place. And it's so perfect to do your farms and then place a Vegeta to start taking care of business while there's no unit around. So he has his passive up and then you place 4 Vegetas. And by the time you get all your farms maxed, Vegeta is still taking care of business. So then you can place your main unit. Like, Vegeta is so good at holding enemies in the beginning. And then, for the new activity, he's so good at taking care of the boss because he does 100% more damage to one enemy. So if only the boss passes through, he does 100% more damage to him. Like, he's just so good. The only thing I hate about Vegeta, and why I had him in S tier on the original version of his tier list when I was pre-recording this, is that you can't put him next to the buffer. And the buffer is good. 18% damage with 10% range is good. But even without being buffed, he's still, I think, meta or above meta. I think he's godlike. It feels good. The SS tier is going to be a little convoluted because you know everyone here is a SS. Now the question is, what's the rankings, right? And this was tough. So after the nerfs, I feel like putting Sun Jin-woo after here. Sun Jin-woo got a major nerf in his combo with Egress for one. He used to have, and I think the passes I'm going to put on screen are the old ones, but an ability that you could do every 60 seconds to spawn enemies. And now, or spawn summons that did quite good damage, and now it's every 135 seconds. The biggest issue with that is that now you can combo very well with Egress, where you used to have 100% uptime when Egress is passive because of Sun Jin-woo, now you can't, and that combo was so strong. Sun Jin-woo got nerfed, so did Egress. Very unfortunate stuff because they were a nice combo to have, and Egress is my only Monarch. Still is my only Monarch. But he's still like major good. I just think that Vegeta does a better job at starting off than Jinwoo does, so Jinwoo is a more of a late game character. The summons being nerfed was, I think, a big deal. After that, we have Tengen. He is very strong. I think the only weakness that he has is that the first attack is not multi-hit, which is a big deal. Shielded enemies are very common in this game, and not having a multi-hit in the first attack makes him not the best unit to open with, which is why I say like Vegeta is so good to open with compared to Tengen, for example, because Vegeta has a multi-hit and he's cheaper. But once you start upgrading Tengen, he goes crazy. He gets stronger and stronger as the battle goes on, because with each attack performed, he gets minus 2% SP up to 30, and dude, he does so much. He gets up to 60% dodge, which, if you don't know, dodge is very good because bosses attack you. So if you can just dodge the attack, you don't get stunned. And the thing is, you could say, oh, you know, some characters are immune to stun, like Egress. Yeah, but they just invented a new attack for the bosses that isn't called stun, just a different thing that also stuns. So if you could just dodge the attack instead, that's just better. You just become impervious to any of these debuffs that the devs just decide to create out of nowhere. Also, he has that thing where the more he attacks the same target, he does more damage. And the thing is, he is full AoE on last upgrade, so I mean, he's hitting everyone up to 3 times, and he's getting that 30% extra damage. Just a really, really good unit. Now we have the true secrets, and honestly, I was having a tough time actually ranking them because I was very certain Egress would be still number 1, but after the nerfs, I'm not so sure, man. Egress got majorly nerfed. He does less damage, and he does less damage to the bosses, and there's no more 100% uptime with the Sun Jin Woo passive, which was a big deal. I think I would tie these two for number 1, but I'm gonna do Egress and then Alucard now. Unless Alucard got also nerfed, and I just don't know because I just don't have him. Alucard just still seems like the best unit. I think before this nerf, Egress was the best unit, but now post-nerf, I'm not so sure. It doesn't really matter. Any of these characters in SS tier are actually just godlike. I almost want to put Vegeta like this. Dude, I just love Vegeta now. It's so strong. I hate that. I have now my original tier list that called him trash, the worst mythic in the game, and now he's like godlike. So everyone that watched that tier list after he got buffed is like, bro, you're stupid. Any case, if you skip to the end of the video and you're just gonna take a screenshot, go ahead. But I would recommend that if you are curious about the reason for any of the placements, just go back. I explain each and every one. Again, if you think any of the placements should be changed, let me know in the comments. Personally, I think you could argue for maybe Obito being SS tier because he's so good for infinite runs, and if you are a leaderboard player, you'd have that opinion, which is fair. Like, you're not running Vegeta in leaderboards, but you're running Obito. But personally, as someone that honestly has gotten really sick and tired of leaderboards, I'm never gonna see that happen. I just mainly like playing and grinding the contents in the game, and for grinding the content and maybe just doing some more challenging activities, I think that this tier list is really good. All right, that's it. Thank you for watching. YouTube thinks you'll like the video that's showing up on screen right now, and as always, more content will come, so stay tuned. Good luck.